Welcome back to MPB's bootcamp for the math portion of the ACT. We are making sure that you have the best possible score that you can get. So let's go ahead and dive on into lesson 10. We're looking at questions 26 through 30. So let's see what we got. All right, so here is question 26. Let's go ahead and read it. It says, for all possible values of A, B, C, and D, when 1/2 AB squared plus C equals D, which of the following expressions is equal to B? So all of that to say, what does B equal? So I'm going to go ahead and write it on the board and work it, and let's see what we got. So I have got 1/2 AB squared plus C equals D. Now, I need to get this one by itself. So I'm going to move everything else. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract C from both sides. So I have D minus C. I'm going to divide by my fraction, which we know is just like what? Multiplying by its reciprocal. So those are going to cancel out, and then I'm going to multiply by the 2 over here. I am left with A times B squared. Still need to get that B by itself, so I'm going to divide by my A on both sides. Now I'm left with B squared. It is still not by itself. So I'm going to have to get that squared going. Well, what is the opposite operation of something that's squared? It's the square root. So I'm going to square root this whole side. So what does my B equal? It equals this right here. This square root of 2 times D minus C divided by A. So what is that answer? That answer is going to be G. So I want us to make sure that we're understanding what these questions are saying, because you've got to understand what the question is before you can answer it. So let me go ahead and erase this so you can see me and I can see the board. And then let's check the next one out. So the next one says, all right, here we go. On a trip, 2 sisters counted 1,430 vehicles. They divided the vehicles into categories, cars, trucks, and others. They noted that the color of each as white, black, red, or other, as shown in the table. What is the probability that a randomly selected truck is black? So I'm looking for my probability. So let's put it right here. The probability that, obviously we're looking for the truck, but that is a black truck. All right, so that's what we're looking for, the probability of a black truck. So I know that I have favorable over total outcome. So I've got favorable over total outcome. All right, so what is my total outcome? It's trucks, right? So how many trucks do I have? So I go over to my trucks, and my total is 479. But I want, out of all that 479, I just want a specific type of truck, which is black. So I look and see where the truck and my black meet. And I have 31 over 479. So that would be question, it would be number B, or letter B, excuse me. So that would be my answer. So we've got to understand what the probability is, and we've also got to understand favorable over outcome and how we read that chart looking at our columns and our rows. Good job. All right, so let's look at the next one. All right, let's see. Okay, so we have a regular hexagon is inscribed in a circle with a diameter of 18 inches, as shown. What is the perimeter in inches of the hexagon? All right, so we remember what inscribed is. That means all of the points or all the vertex touches the circle. We also remember, and I'm going to turn this down so you can see my screen just a little better. We also know that the sides of my hexagon are half of my diameter. And since my diameter, and I'm going to try and draw this, because I do not draw well. So that we know that my diameter goes all the way across the circle. That's why we have to say that it's inscribed. Let's pretend that that touched. All right, so I'm going to make this so it looks a little better, so it does touch. That is supposed to be a regular hexagon, but we're not getting points for drawing. All right, so the diameter of the circle is 18. Therefore, each one of these sides are 9. And I'm going to draw it like this so we can see that they are 9. All right. So then it asks me for what? What's the what? What's the perimeter in inches of this hexagon? So we know that we find a perimeter as adding all of my sides together. So I have 9, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. So obviously what? 9 times 6 is 54. We're doing that in inches, so my answer is going to be F. Good job. You've got to remember some of the simple things when we're looking at these geometry questions, because you're always going to have some type of math or algebra in dealing with those geometry questions. Good job. All right, so let's look at the next one. All right, so we have Tanya working. She earned $34,000 in the first year at her job. She is given a raise of the same dollar amount each year, resulting in her earning $38,080 in the 4th year at her job. What is the total of Tanya's earnings during the 4th year, not reading it correctly. What is the total of her earnings during her 4 years at the job? Now, I'm kind of glad that I misread that, because a lot of people misread this question. It's not saying what is her total number in her 4th year. It's the total number of her 4 years at work. This word, her 4th year, is different than 4 years. So I want to know the total in the 4 years. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 1st year, my 2nd year, my 3rd year, and my 4th year, okay? So now I need to put what my earnings were for each of those years. Well, we're told right off the bat that she started out at $34,000. She's got a raise that we're not quite sure of each year. And we know at the end of those 4 years, her salary or her earnings was $38,080. Now, what is the difference of those? When I take this and I subtract what she started with, I get 4,000. Nope, I do not. When I take this number and I subtract this number from it, I get, that's how much her pay increased from the 1st year to the 2nd year. Now, in that $4,080, I get the same amount increased every year. So I'm increasing to my 2nd year, I'm increasing to my 3rd year, and I'm increasing to my 4th year. So she's only getting a raise 3 times. So I'm going to divide this by 3, and I get a raise amount of $1,360 each year. So I am going to add this to my total earnings each year that she worked. All right, so I take that $34,000 and add my increase or my raise, and I'm going to get $35,360. Then I'm going to take that $35,360 and add my raise to it again, and I'm going to get $36,720. And just to make sure that we're doing the math correctly, go ahead and add that $1,360 to this 3rd year and make sure that you get that $38,080. So now that we know how much she made every single year, it tells me it wants the what? It wants the total. And that's really what you're looking for, is the total. So I'm going to take all 4 of these and I'm going to add them together. When I add each year's earnings, I'm going to get $144,160. And we see that is letter C. So you want to make sure that you're understanding exactly what the questions are asking, and then you have to make a plan on how you're working. You know that it's total of 4 years, not the 4th year. You've got to find out what the raise was each year by finding out what the difference in the 1st and the 4th year was. So you've got to make sure you're understanding what the questions are. Good job. So let's do our last one. All right, so here's number 30. Let me erase this so we can see what we've got going. So here we go. All right, so now we're looking at a standard XY coordinate plane, all right? How many points are both 5 coordinate units from the origin and also 2 coordinates away from where y equals 0? Now, we've got 2 conditions, all right? So here's our 2 conditions. The first one, I need 5 units away from my origin, and we're on an X and Y coordinate plane. And then my second condition is what? My second condition is 2 units away from where y equals 0. Well, where does y equal 0 at? Okay, that's one thing that you need to understand. So if I have this coordinate where y equals 0 is going to be, let's see if I can get a different color so I can show you. This is going to be, and I'm going to make it like this so you can see exactly. This is where that line of y equals 0 is going to correct. So right there. So the first thing that we need to understand that this is a classic geometry locus question. So we need to understand that there's going to be some steps. There's going to be multiple operations that we have to do to answer this question. So the first thing you have to answer yourself is I need to find the points where these 2 different shapes are going to intersect, where the line is and where the circle is. All right. The circle is 5 units from that origin, and then the line is where 2 units are away from this squiggly line that I've got. Okay, so there's my 2 conditions. So let's go ahead and look at this. So let's first do the first condition. That's what we're going to look at first, is this first condition. So I need 5 units away from this origin of 0, 0. So 5 units away is the distance that we're looking for. Now, we all remember what distance was. Distance is the square root of x minus x1 squared plus y minus y1 squared. Okay, we remember that. Well, what is my y1 and x1? It's this 0, 0. So I'm just going to simply put x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared. We know anytime you have anything and you subtract 0 from it, it does not change the value. So the distance that we're looking for in this first condition is 5. And we have the square root of x squared minus y squared. Well, we want to get that square root symbol away. Well, how do we move that square root symbol away? We have to square it. So we square this side and square this side. So I've got 5 squared equals x squared plus y squared. All right, so this is going to be my first condition. All right, so now let's look at that second condition. This second condition is where I am 2 units away from this squiggled line. Now, Ms. Killen, what is this right here telling us? This is telling us that our circle's top is a positive 5, and this circle's top is a negative 5. That's what this means, okay? You can do all the math which you have learned in your Algebra 1 or possibly Algebra 2 and possibly in that geometry course. But that's what this is telling us, that that circle's height goes up to a positive 5 and a negative 5. That's just what it's telling us. So in the second condition, I'm needing to know 2 units away from where that y equals 0 inside or on that circle. So let's go ahead and look at that. So this circle, we said, was going up 5 and going down 5. So now I need to know about the line that we have already indicated. So where y is 2 and y is a negative 2. Well, Ms. Killen, why are you saying 2 and negative 2? Well, when you have 2 units away from this right here, you're going to have going up on your graph, which is positive, and going down on your graph, which is negative. So I've got to look at, see where y is a positive 2 and y is a negative 2. So when I have a line here of the positive 2, I'm intersecting once and twice on my circle. And then when I have the line which is on the negative 2, I'm hitting that circle once and twice. So how many points do we have that meet both of these conditions, where it's 5 units away from the origin all of these around right here on the circle. And also 2 units away where y equals 0. That would be this point and that point, this point and this point. So it is shown in our little drawing here that we have 4 points, which is what letter? It's letter J. So you've got to make sure that you're understanding what the question's asking, what each condition is, and how we solve both of those conditions on the same graph. So that is how we are looking at these different types of questions. Now, as we get on into more of the questions that was on that practice test, you will see how we use different maths to answer different types of questions. So I don't want you to get in a hurry. I want you to take your time, look and see what the math is that we're doing, and see how you can take what you've already learned and use it with these different questions. So to do that, we have to do the things that we've been saying forever and ever is practice, practice, practice. And until next time, guys, have a great day.